How is it that you build that legacy that you're looking for? Because it seems like some fighters have different approaches. Like obviously Conor has moved up weight classes, but he hasn't defended titles, so a lot of people look at that. Whereas Demetrius Johnson, instead of his weight class, defended his title so many times. What's your approach? How do you build your legacy? Do you look for multiple titles in multiple weight classes, or more so, dominate divisions?
Yeah, I think both play a factor. I think fighting anyone, fighting the best, taking out the best, winning belts and stuff like that, but also dominating. So, when you do win the belts, get the next best person to defend it against and dominate him, and then, you become a dominant, great. That's how I see it,
That's what I got growing up myself watching MMA, and the real big thing about MMA, the opinion used to be the best will always fight the best. There's no real, layups, if you like, in MMA. But that opinion has changed a lot. But from talking to you, Darren, before, obviously as well today, it takes me that if you were the champion, if Dana White or Sean Schaub was to ring you and go, this is the next guy in line, you strike me as the guy who's going, yeah, fucking line him up, let's knock him out. You seem like you'll fight anyone, anytime, especially defend the title.
Yeah, I think to be the champion and say you're the best in the division, you've got to fight that next best guy, and I've already given my opinion on the top guys in the division. I'm not going to be at welterweight for long, but while I'm here, 5 weeks, I'm winning that belt, and then, wherever it goes from there, the best in line is getting that shot. I don't want to pick and choose my competition. I'm not that type of fighter.
All right, you're going to like this. Let me just play it for you.
The Ultimate Fighter will continue. Yeah. There's still a huge market for the Ultimate Fighter. The Ultimate Fighter still does well. People look at the ratings right now, and they'll come in at 500,000, 600, 650, but that's the initial rating. Now with DVR and stuff like that, the number's much bigger. Last season's Ultimate Fighter averaged around 1 million viewers. It's a lot of people. It's still a big show and a big brand, and it'll go on. We probably won't do 2 a season, probably do 1. And
is this something that'll be done with ESPN or?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can do it with ESPN and ESPN Plus, The Contender, Looking for a Fight. It's all gonna keep rolling.
So this is from MMAJunkie.com Instagram. So it's gonna continue.
I just don't get it. I do not get it. I don't get it. I don't know what to tell you. I don't get it. But you remember, with them signing a deal with ESPN and ESPN Plus, they have to provide a certain amount of hours of content. So whether you can come up with a new concept, no, that take time and energy, time and work, and a lot of smart brains. So they just go, well, let's just keep feeding them this bullshit. Even though no one watches it, as many angles you want to paint it and add up DVRs and all this stuff, the ratings suck. No one's tuning into it. And if you listen to any big time like radio, podcast, whatever the UFC podcasts are out there, whatever your favorite ones are, no one's talking about fucking tough. The general census, even among the fighters, is that thing sucks. It's just been worn out. But then you keep pushing it. The Ultimate Fighter's sloppy joes of the fucking lunch menu now. It just like, all right, I fucking take it. It's the only thing I can eat. I'll take it. You don't want it, but they just keep pushing in your face because they have to.
Darren Till there will become just the third fighter from these shores to fight for a world title. He's now over in Vegas at the UFC Performance Institute in the lead up to that fight, and there's been a bit of controversy around something he said in an interview a couple of days ago.
I trust my team 100%. I trust my coach Colin Heron 100%. So as long as I do all that work, legacy and greatness, all money will be there. So I don't worry about it. You can't have worries outside of this game. I've got a girlfriend who's nearly, you know, 7 months pregnant. I don't really care. I've got a daughter in Brazil right now who I haven't seen for 1 year. I don't really care. I just care about legacy and greatness. That's what I'm in this for. I'm not in this to make money, be a champion and leave. I'm in this for people to say at the end of it, you were the greatest. That's my only mentality.
Now, Nick, you know Darren Till, and you know a lot of the background to this.
Yep.
If you read that statement, it is pretty raw.
That actual clip that we've just pulled out there, obviously we've got to try and put some context around it. It doesn't sound great, of course, and I know Darren has taken quite a lot of flack on social media for it as well, but as someone that knows him and knows his pregnant girlfriend as well, but also I've seen Darren, the way he FaceTimes his daughter in Brazil every night, you know, for an hour and everything else. I know that side of him too, so this has kind of been pulled out there. I think what the point he was trying to make was, you know, he's not trying to become UFC champion and trying to build this legacy for his unborn child or for his daughter in Brazil or for anybody else. He's not doing it for anybody else. He's doing it selfishly for him. That's what drives him. He believes, and has done since he was a teenager, that he's the greatest fighter this planet's ever seen. That is absolutely fundamental in his mind. He has literally got blinkers on around that. It doesn't mean he doesn't love his family and everything else. Far from it. I know the exact opposite is the case. But I think in that context, I think what he wants to do is just separate himself from his personal life, and this is his business life. And when he talks about business, he is all business.
And he has to do that after the fight in Liverpool, when there were some issues with him not making weight because his pregnant girlfriend had some troubles. He then, Dan, has to say this around this fight to prove that he is all business, that he wants this title.
Yeah, I think he is anyway, and I agree with Nick. I think what he said was probably slightly misunderstood. Maybe, you know, you've got to think the amount of people that want to step into an octagon and fight another human being is such a small percentage of the population. You've got to think that our minds work slightly differently. I would imagine that Nick, from our conversations, would tell you the same. Like people that step into that arena and fight, and Nick's done it as well. You've had fights, Nick. You know that it takes a different kind of character to do that. And then you've got to think, you turn the volume up on that to championship level, to top 3 in the world, to someone that's fighting the best welterweight on the planet at the moment. He's got to have that single-mindedness. It's healthy to have that single-mindedness. There's nothing. It's not to say that he doesn't care and love about his family. Yeah. His way of caring and loving his family is to be authentically himself, because he knows that authentic version of himself is a world champion, and that's how he provides for them. So although it sounds selfish in the way that it's worded, the actuality is very much the opposite.
I'm sure you've been there, Dan. You know, I'm sure there's times in your career, more than likely, when you fought George St. Pierre for this very same belt, that, you know, your family were the furthest thing from your mind when you're in fight mode, when you're thinking about the fight, when you're prepping for it, when you're literally in the build-up, as Darren is here, a couple of weeks away from the biggest fight of his life. He's in America as well. He's transported away. You know, he's not interacting with his family in a minute-by-minute, hour-by-hour, or even day-by-day basis. He is 100% business, and I'm sure there was times in your career where you had to get that kind of single-minded approach as well.
You do. You've got to distance yourself from it. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't, and you're doing your family a disservice, because, you know, his family, his children, they're going to worry about him when he's competing. And if he's slightly divided, even if 1% of his attention is elsewhere, there's a percentage less in the octagon, which makes it a more dangerous environment for him, which then is going to be impactful on his kids, not only on his fight purse and on his win bonus and his success, but on his health. You know, he has to be 100% focused. This is not like any other sport. This is where combat sports and every other sport, you know, there's a difference between them. There's a separation, because this is, you know, it's a very dangerous environment. It can be, you know, you've got to be 100% focused, and it's like going to war. You know, you don't want to be distracted. You don't want to have your family in the baggage train behind you, and you've got to protect them. You want to be there 100% and give yourself everything, give yourself every opportunity to win the fight. And that's what he's doing. I respect him. I understand what he's trying to communicate, and I think, in hindsight, perhaps in a couple of years' time, when he listens to those interviews back, I think he'll hear them from a different perspective. I think he'll understand how people are misunderstanding what he's saying. If you say that he would do himself a disservice and his family a disservice for not concentrating, did he then do them a disservice in Liverpool for not being 100% focused on that fight in Liverpool and missing weight?
Listen, he will make weight for the championship fight. You better believe that, because there's no ifs and buts then. You know, he wants to become UFC welterweight champion before he then moves on and fights, hopefully one day, for the UFC middleweight championship as well. He will make weight when it really matters. nobody was more disappointed than Darren Till that he missed weight in Liverpool. But sometimes these things happen in life, and you got to brush yourself down and keep moving forward. And listen, he's got this opportunity now. Whether fans agree he deserved it or not, he's got it. He accepted the call when others didn't. And on September the 8th, hopefully we get the second UK UFC champ.